Dan Bublitz Comedy Productions.
My friend Dan, he's got a podcast, cause all comics need a podcast, and nobody had a podcast called The Art of Bombing. So Dan went out and bought a tape deck. Who knows why he bought a tape deck? Now podcasts don't get played on tape decks, but Dan is from the 80s. So hey there, all you funny jerks, come talk to Dan about your work. Tell him all about your worst times. It's The Art of Bombing. Welcome to a brand new episode of the Art of Bombing podcast. It is me, your host, Dan Bublitz Jr. With me, as always, is my co-host, co-producer, cohort, Mr. Josh Shirley. How are you doing on this fine day?
I'm tired because
you're tired.
Well, this past weekend wasn't relaxing. I spent it moving my father-in-law to an apartment.
Ooh. Oh, that does not sound like fun at all.
No, and he has a bunch of old guy stuff.
So heavy, wooden,
heavy
furniture.
Oak cabinets, like a table he welded. What is this? Like, it was all in storage, and like the guy's moving him. Like, he only needed a few items out of storage, which kind of like baited me into thinking it was going to be short.
Yeah, but all the items were buried in the back of the storage. Yeah, I saw that coming.
That is what happened exactly. And so we basically had to take everything out and like Tetris it back in after we got stuff in the truck, and it just took way. It was raining and it was cold. It just took longer than we expected it.
Oh, that's a bummer.
We get everything in there, and then we're like, where's my father-in-law? Like, he's not there. Like, he never showed up. I was like, he's like the most important part of the move, I thought.
Oh, that's amazing. He didn't even show up to help.
I don't think
or even supervise. That's hilarious.
Dude. I stopped caring. I left, and then I think my mother-in-law found him or something. And it's maybe she didn't. I don't know. But all his crap is in the apartment now. So,
well, that sounds like an exhausting weekend. My weekend was great. I did comedy, so that's what I did. I took a nice little trip down to Pueblo, Colorado.
There you go.
I did a show at the Pueblo Memorial Hall for a bunch of people for a fundraiser for the Pueblo Cooperative Care Center, which is a nonprofit down there that do stuff for they help with poor and homeless people. They do all kinds of different services, from providing showers to shelter to food, all kinds of different things, clothing drives, you name it. They're probably doing it for those that need the help, and that's great. Yeah. So helped them raise a bunch of money. Had a good show. It was like one of the wildest experiences in comedy because I got put up in a nice hotel. It was walking distance from the venue. They gave me a cool little gift bag with some goodies in it, So that happened. And then I got to perform at this historical theater. I mean, this theater is like 100 years old.
Wow.
They just put a bunch of money into it in the last few years, renovating it and updating it. And so it's like the premier performing art space in Pueblo, I think. And yeah, it was wild to be able to be on that stage. That stage was huge.
That's fun.
Yeah. And then I had a great set. I did over an hour, like 70 minutes. And I did something that I don't normally do. And that is usually I'm pretty high energy on stage. And for whatever reason, I didn't really feel like I was tired or anything, but I just slowed down. I wasn't as high energy. And I ended up having a really, really good set. And I really noticed it while I was on stage because I could feel some of the places where I was getting some really good laughs and then some really good applause breaks. Usually they hit okay, but I was getting some solid, oh, wow, that was really good after like a long story joke and stuff.
Nice.
So,
yeah,
so it was cool.
I'm not ready to write a referendum on fundraising audiences, but I did have a good show at a fundraiser this year as well. It wasn't recent, but like,
Awesome.
I don't know, maybe there's something about raising funds.
Well, I think that definitely helps, when you're raising funds.
Must be.
It's always, people are there for a good time, try to be supportive. But yeah, it was fantastic. So I'm excited.
Nice.
And I think they're already talking about wanting me to do something next year for them too. So that's always good. That's how you know you did good, when they're like, we'll be in touch about next year.
Right. Nice. Yeah, that's excellent. That sounds like the perfect outcome.
It was great. So, but that's not what we're here for today. We're here today because we have another guest on the show. That's right. We have Chase Tressler. He's a fantastic comedian that lives here in Loveland. I've become pretty good friends with him in the time that I've been living here. And finally, I wanted to get him on the podcast, and finally got him on. And it was a great conversation. We had a lot to talk about. He is a little bit newer comic. He hasn't been doing it as long as some of the other guests that we get, but I always try to keep an open mind to that, because I think everybody brings a different perspective, no matter how long they've been in comedy. Their bombing stories aren't always as good when they're new, but that's okay. That's not all what it's all about. We want some of that perspective too. And he, and not to say that his bombing story wasn't good. I'm just pointing out that if somebody's only been doing comedy for a month, they probably don't have a good bombing story yet.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what I'm trying to say there. But it was a good conversation. And then next week we'll have the callbacks. We're going to be talking about setting goals at open mics, and we're also going to be talking about listening to your sets, but not just like recent sets, going back into the vault and listening to older sets and what you can get from doing that. So that'll be coming up next week. And we're introducing a new feature next week called Ask Us Anything. And that means you listening, if you have a question for Josh or I, it can be something about comedy, it can be about the podcast, it can be about our comedy careers, or just life in general, that you'd like to ask and have us answer on an episode of Callbacks. Just shoot us an email, theartofbombingpod@gmail.com, or you can send it through to us over Instagram, Facebook, Art of Bombing Pod, and then Facebook group, any of those places. All the links are in the show notes as well. So we're welcoming these questions. And we have a really good question for this first time that we're doing it next week. So buckle up. We got some good content out of that, good comedy perspective out of that question. So, and then I don't have anything else to do. I've talked about a show. I probably have shows coming up, but you know where to find it.
Nice.
Yeah. So are we ready? Should we get into it? All right, let's get into it.
Enjoy.
Here's our conversation with Chase. Enjoy.
It's the art of bombing. All right, we're back. Did a reset because both of us were having the jitters. It's like we've never done this before,
or just can't talk English.
Oh, that could be too. Yeah. I mean, for me, I can't talk English. I can't talk any language.
Right.
I just gibberish.
It's the squinty eyes for you, and I automatically just assume you're one of my brothers.
Well, I'm just albino.
You're one of them. You're one of us.
Tonight, though, you're filling in. You're hosting an open mic.
I am.
Are you excited about that?
I am. I've kind of been going through a hard time lately, so it's I've been avoiding doing a lot of this particular work. So it's nice to get back out and try to get back to the
grind.
Yeah, to the grind. And hosting was always one of my favorite things to do, especially when we ran that show for just a little bit, even in Loveland, and I miss it. So yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. You had that show that was very brief.
It was very brief and very, very bad.
Well, I don't know that. I guess I wouldn't say it was bad. At least the one time I went, it was fine.
It just it
was a weird venue.
Yeah, and we didn't really what we were doing yet. Yeah. We were given a bunch of super awesome technology from the godfather of Fort Collins comedy, Tobias Livingston, and we were just set on doing something with it, right?
Yeah.
So we went out as fast as we could to go grab something, and yeah, that was the first place that reached back out. So
and you're like, we'll do it.
yeah, no offense to them by any means. If you guys watch this, like it,
Well,
it was a
I don't know.
super
Are
cool
they?
venue and
They're not
really
in
nice
business
guys.
anymore, anyway.
Oh, really?
No. So
I haven't driven by there. In a
well,
while, so.
it's essentially the same kind of business that's in there, but it is a different owner and a different. Like it closed. They moved everything out, and then somebody opened a very similar artisan bakery type thing
Just
in the same
artisan
location.
ingredient, yeah.
Basically very similar. But I went in there one time when I was talking to businesses about the festival, and they were like, "Oh no, we're a different entity than the previous people." So I don't know.
Interesting.
Yeah, very interesting.
I mean, it was a cool place to go if you knew what you were looking for. I guess it was pretty niche.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And good chocolates though.
Yeah, good chocolates. The coffee was probably really good.
No, I'm not a coffee guy.
Oh,
so
see, I love
I like
coffee.
the smell of coffee. It reminds me of my mom. But
Your mom
she drank a lot of
smells
coffee.
like
She just drank a lot of coffee. She still drinks a lot of coffee.
coffee and cigarettes.
Yeah. No, not a cigarettes gal, but
Just
no.
the coffee.
Yeah,
All right,
very
that's fair.
much a roasty smell to the house in the morning.
All right. And last weekend, speaking of getting back into shows, you were on the Bilingual Comedy Festival.
Yes,
Was it
the Vatos Locos Comedy Festival. Yeah.
How was that for you?
That was actually it ended up being a lot of fun. I met a lot of new comics that I had not met before. I don't want to name drop any because I'm gonna mess up their names. There was a gentleman from Chuck, like the TV series Chuck.
Yeah, Mark Christopher Lawrence.
Yes, Mark Christopher Lawrence, got to meet him and hang out with him.
Former guest of the show.
Awesome.
No.
Yeah, no, he's a super nice
he's
guy.
super guy. I've known Mark for almost as long as I've been doing comedy.
Yeah.
Because he lives in San Diego.
Oh, okay.
Or he did when I lived there. So,
Awesome.
Yeah, I get to work with him quite a bit.
Yeah,
Get to know him very
again.
well.
Super nice guy. He's very open about just like how this works, and
Oh yeah, absolutely.
he's a very conversative guy. I enjoyed the time. There was again, I don't want to say any names because I feel like I'm gonna mess them up. Alfredo Luna, I think, is that one.
Alfredo.
Is
that what you said?
Alfredo, like
Alfredo.
like the spaghetti. I think.
I'm
sorry.
taking your word for it. It's okay. Yeah, I'm not. I was just
But
asking
no,
how the festival was. You didn't have to
No, it was a
put
good
yourself
time.
on the spot with
Different names,
Different
yeah.
names.
It was a good time. There
That's
was
good.
a lot of amazing people. Over like the cool thing that I noticed, because I've been to a couple of festivals now with you included now down in Trinidad. Everybody went to every show.
Oh, that's awesome.
And like everybody packed out the room, even if there wasn't a bunch of patrons there, there was a bunch of comedians there. Maybe not every single one, but like Mark, I did 3 days of the thing, and Mark was at every single show that I was on, so that was super fun.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So very supportive then.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
awesome. Yeah. Shout out to Ricky Ramos, another
Yeah.
former guest of the show. Put that on him and is it just him and oh man, now I'm drawing a blank on a name. Rudy, there we go. From Greeley. Didn't he help put that on too?
I'm not sure. I didn't see Rudy the whole weekend.
Oh, maybe I'm mistaken. I thought they were working together.
I thought
but...
so too, but I didn't see him.
Okay,
I'm not
yeah,
sure.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I wasn't involved.
We're gonna cut this out.
No, we're not. 'Cause I'll admit that I just don't know.
No, I have no clue.
It's hard to pay attention to what everybody else is doing when you're busy doing your own things, too.
Right.
So there's that. I just know that I was very impressed because, a lot of times comedy festivals in general are hard to organize
Right.
and hard to facilitate. And, Ricky took on a big job in the fact that not only, most festivals are like one city. And if you have to go
spread.
from around town,
Yeah.
that's, one thing, the goal, the ultimate dream is to have everything in one consolidated area. That's what we did with our festival. But he was like, you know what? I want it in 3 different cities, which I thought that was huge because that's a big undertaking.
And again, to me, the impressive thing, the fact that it was so spread out, everybody was at everything. It was
That's
really
awesome.
cool. Like I went down all the way to Denver at Bar 38. That was my first show on Thursday. And a bunch of comedians were there. That's where I first met Mark and Josh and Adrian and a bunch of people. And then I went to the Speakeasy in Longmont the next day, both on the early shows, and all the comedians were there too. Israel was there. I don't know if you've had him on yet. He's an up and comer. He's one of the new guys.
Seen him at. He's come to our open mic a couple times.
Oh yeah,
so
yeah.
Outside of that, I haven't really talked much with him. I know who he is though.
I had a couple of new guys there, and it was cool to see that too. And then I got to drive local Fort Collins comedian Paul Ramirez up to the finale at the Moxie in Greeley, and I jumped on at the late show with him.
Nice.
And,
you got to do little guest spots.
Yeah,
so you got to perform
time.
3 different times.
I did.
That's
it was
awesome.
a good time. Again, like I was totally like impressed and
it looked like a lot of fun.
great
I
time.
wanted to try to get to a show because I wanted to see Mark. Like I said, he's a friend of mine, but
Yeah.
it just didn't work out for me. I just
It's
couldn't.
all right. It's
just didn't
okay that
make
you
it.
texted me that you were gonna come.
I
and
said
then
I
you
was
didn't
thinking
come.
about coming. I said
Usually that means that you're gonna come.
Yeah, but
you
then
know,
what happens
sometimes,
is
you know.
So I go with some friends. We go have ramen on Fridays.
Oh, okay.
So we go have ramen.
Bully Ziyaka.
Yep.
Yep.
That's become our kind of our tradition. We're the ramen boys. That's our little club. And and then next thing I know, we're drinking a lot of sake. And so I was like, you know what? I'm not going to risk driving all the way to Longmont.
Yeah, fair enough. If you're ever in Loveland, Colorado,
I'm staying local.
if you're ever in Loveland, Colorado, go hit Bully Ziyaka up. It's delicious.
It is
One of our best Asian restaurants in the area.
I believe that. It's really good. Like I said, we made a tradition of we go almost every Friday. Well, I go when I can. Obviously, with comedy, I'm not always around, but
Right.
I've been to, I don't know, 2 or 3 of them, and it's a good time.
Oh, yeah.
We go each get our own entree, and then we get a bunch of skewers and appetizers for the table.
Yeah, those skewers are something
Oh
else.
my God, it's amazing. Good stuff. So that's what happened to me. That's
No
why
worries.
I didn't make it.
I
I
feel
got
you.
fat and drunk.
I feel you.
Full and drunk.
I did the same thing actually on Friday. There was this nice little taco place. I can't remember the name of it, but it was right across the street from the Speakeasy, and me and a couple of the new comics went over there and grabbed some food, and it was really good.
Oh,
It was
nice.
really good stuff.
Can never go wrong with some good food.
Absolutely. I think that's the golden trinity of comedy, right? Jokes, food, and good jokes, good food, and good drinks, right?
Yeah, or you could do good jokes, good food, good times. I don't know.
Sure. I'll throw that in with the joke. Fair. I don't
Well, just if you want to not just be as abrasive about the drinking part, you
No.
pussyfoot around.
No.
Good times.
It's 2 p.m. and I got a beer in my hands.
Yeah.
We're drinking.
Well,
I'm
when this
drinking.
comes out, it's going to be like 8 a.m. So people are going to be like, "What? You drinking in the morning?" No.
Yep. I did that too. Back when I was a security guard, I would go to the gas station in the mornings and grab a beer, and they would look at me like a crazy person.
But that was because that was your nighttime.
yeah,
right?
and,
Like, that was
and I try to explain that to them sometimes,
And they
but
just
they'd
didn't
always
get
just
it.
be like, "All right, buddy."
I totally get that. I used to work overnights at this company, and we worked like 12-hour shifts. So we worked like rotating shifts. So we'd work like 2 days on, 2 days off, or whatever. And then when we were off on that day, a bunch of us would go to the bar right after work. And they serve breakfast too, but we go in, get breakfast, and then also be drinking all morning because it was like that was our weekend.
Yep. I am hitting that point though. I'll tell you where it's like it's hitting me. Like,
Oh yeah,
the decision making is less controlled and needs to come back, needs to get reined in a little bit.
Need to reel it in a little bit.
You saw how like fervent my initial response was, right? Yeah, drink. We're it's 2 p.m. in the afternoon.
I could have a beer.
Yeah.
Like, okay,
America.
I guess.
Yeah, I gotta calm down.
You do whatever you want. I'm not here to judge. I'm here to talk about bombing. That's what I'm here for. Comedy and
yeah.
bombing.
Yeah,
You know.
I sent you a good clip too. Yeah.
Oh, good. I'd
Yeah.
look forward to seeing the clip. I hope it's good. I hope it wasn't like you being all funny and like meta and like I'll send a good clip and then it's you bombing or something.
No, it is me bombing.
No, that's not. Oh, you're gonna have to send a new clip. That's not what that is for.
I thought that's what you wanted. I was like, it's like a minute and 35 in, man. I start dipping real hard.
Oh no, that's not what that video's for. That video is
Okay.
so we play the video between the intro and the interview so people get a taste of your comedy styling. So it helps the audience kind of get a better understanding of you. So you might want to send a different clip.
I'll send a different clip than the one aforementioned literally a second ago.
Somebody didn't pay attention to the instructions.
This is what happens when you send an ADHD guy a fucking Google form. I don't read it all.
Hey,
man.
I can tell.
I do my best, but it is literally me going, which questions have the red mark next to them? Man,
Which
to
ones
make
do I
sure-
have to fill out?
Exactly.
Oh, good times. Well, let's talk about it then. Is that your bombing story? The tape you said?
No, my current bombing story that I got right now is actually from last night. I got to go up with Joe Frommert to the R Bar show and the Pride or Die show. And I opened because, unfortunately, Roxy Grant wasn't able to make it. So I filled in and did an opening 10. And I don't know what happened, man. I was doing really, really good. The first 5 to 6 to 7 minutes are like, we're doing great. Everybody's laughing. They're laughing harder at certain things than I would have expected them to laugh. And somebody might have said something. I like something switched in my brain where I was like, oh, they're not into this. So I just started like trying to do light crowd work at them, and it always came out very aggressive. Like in my head, I'd be like, hold on. Okay. In my head, I'd be like, this person said shut up to their friend. Then I heard that. And so I was like, whoa, who said shut up? Thinking in my head, like,
they're talking to you.
They're talking. No. No. Not thinking like, don't tell each other to shut up. Tell her, like, what's she trying to tell me? Let her speak.
Oh, I gotcha.
And it just came out, oh, who said shut up? And everybody was like, fucking crickets throughout the whole crowd. And I didn't get it back. I didn't get it back.
Man.
I literally I was like, bye. And then I just got off stage. That was it. I couldn't.
Just couldn't do it.
Yeah. I got off stage and Joe was like, there's like 6 jokes you could have did. Why didn't you do them?
Like, because they eluded me.
Yeah. I was like, I was trying to explain it. Like, actually, like, there are like, I don't write jokes like notes down for like what joke I want to do next. I like to kind of try and keep it fluid to like tailor to whatever the crowd is at the time, like however they're feeling. So like I have a section of beginning jokes, a list of beginning jokes in my head, a list of middle jokes, and then a list of end jokes. And a lot of the jokes that I didn't do in the middle, I can't transfer to the end because they go in the middle in my brain. And this is like,
it's like, you're
so they're already done. Yeah, they're already done. I already finished them in my head.
Yeah.
They're gone. They're done.
Yeah.
I can't, if I do them again, I'll repeat them. So I have to go to the end jokes now, which is very scarce territory at this point. So, yeah, it was bad. It was a terrible bomb.
Well, and I know just from watching you, sometimes when you do crowd work, you're very aggressive.
Oh, yeah.
You're very aggressive. And it comes off sometimes, not necessarily mean, but definitely people can sense the aggression. And it isn't as, lighthearted and fun like crowd work should be.
Yeah. No, I don't know what changed because in the beginning I was really good at crowd work and like talking to people and like engaging with the people. And then like someone along the line told me that you need to write more jokes and do less crowd work. Crowd work is not as important. And I don't know why that turned crowd work negative in my brain, but maybe that's why it comes out so aggressive now, is because you're not supposed to be doing this.
Yeah, I could see that.
You
getting that in your brain and then, respond in that way.
Yeah, it is comfortable to stay in the pre-programmed jokes that I know are going to work. So, yeah.
Well, and the trick is being able to go back and forth. Fluidly.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And I am experiencing that difficulty now from the different lessons just kind of compiled together, like all kind of speaking to me at the same time, which is a blessing and a curse all at the same time, right? Like, I love everything that I've ever been taught from various comedians. At the same time, a lot of it is clashing too. So
yeah, it can definitely.
You got to pick and choose in the moment which one fits the right dial for what's going on.
Oh, for sure. You know? And to figure out kind of what works for you as a comedian.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one thing that I find fascinating about comedy. There's not necessarily a right or wrong way to do it, and everybody has their own path to get to whatever they deem as success. And while there is no right or wrong ways, there are definitely things that can hinder, and there are things that you can do that'll hinder you, and there are things that you can do that'll help propel you. But
110.
but it's all up to what you're comfortable with and your comfort level.
It's funny you say that I'm aggressive at the crowd, because I tell a younger comic myself, I tell him, hey man, you're kind of intense on stage and your verbalage is very aggressive at people. Maybe don't do that.
Well, sometimes though it's easier to see that stuff in other people,
right,
and not in ourselves,
right?
Like sometimes you need an outside perspective to be like, hey, you're doing this thing, because you just don't realize it.
Yeah.
I've definitely been in that situation where there's things that I've done that no idea that I was doing until somebody pointed it out. And I could have watched a tape a million times and never figured it out. To me, it's just me being, doing my act or whatever, me being me, and somebody points it out. And then as soon as they point it out, you're very hyper aware of it, because then it becomes like, oh, now I'm so aware of it.
Yeah.
And you can't,
It's a balance.
It is.
It's, I think like being like a former martial artist has like helped me through a lot of this too, like the ebb and the flow of what this can be, like, and adhering to that. Do you
practice, or not really practice? That's not a good word. Do you find that using some of the things you learn through martial arts, you do apply to comedy like that? Like
in a mental mindset,
that's what I mean.
do.
Obviously not physically.
Like, well, even like in
maybe.
like even in some physical senses, like I am able to be so animated because for so long I was very in shape and like I was very flexible. So like I'm able to do different things with my body that like look straight. I'm able to change levels very easily. It's like, and that's a huge thing in my opinion in comedy, is if like you're standing for they found me.
Oh no.
I'm sorry. All right. Have a good day, guys.
That's what happens when you have a beer at 2 p.m.
Yeah, they knew they'd come and get me eventually. Sorry, Mom.
You know what's going to be funny about this whole bit we just did? They're not going to hear the sirens in the
Probably
background
not.
because these mics
there was a siren. I thought I was hearing that through here. My bad.
I mean, no, I think you were hearing it from outside of the cans, but that's all right.
Oh well. Wow.
Like that I just called it out. I called out our bit just because
there's an art to bombing.
There is, and we just
call
did
it out. What was I talking about?
You're talking about using things you've learned in martial arts and applying them to performing.
No, like I think changing levels is what I was saying. Like if you're saying something standing, like if you're like presenting something standing in a calm demeanor, and then you suddenly drop in a much more wild, and like your verbalage becomes much more wild and a little more crazy, it adds something to just screaming into a microphone, right? I think one of the greatest compliments that almost made me cry I've ever gotten was somebody told me, it was just a passerby that saw me, was you remind me of Robin Williams, and I almost fucking cried. Because that's who I would like attain, like I would wish to be, like as far as like I don't want to be like Robin Williams, but like I appreciate his level of physicality. Like I would love to be able to bring that to every performance that I do.
Have you, with your, because you have the martial arts training, have you thought about doing any of that, like as far as like using the physical aspect to do slapstick kind of comedy, like the, being able to move quick, things like that?
110%. I'm writing out some scripts right now for some dumb little comedic sketches here and there. And I've written out 100 different just like fight scenarios for me and a buddy to do. Just like, oh, my homie spilled his beer in my lap and I pick the can up and I throw the can at him and he grabs the can and we fight over the can of the last beer or something like that. But like, I would love to make it more brainy than that, than just like kung fu slapstick style, like, this is silly because we're fighting. Like, did you see Everything Everywhere All at Once? I've
not watched it yet. It's on my list, but
there's a scene in it where there's a butt plug fight scene where like they're fighting to get a butt plug in their butt.
Oh my god!
So it you know, like that's a level of like Hong Kong Phooey ridiculousness that I absolutely aspire to attain. But I'd love to make it even more brainy than that. Like it's like, and that's ridiculous to say because like that's one of the most ridiculously. There's a reason behind why they're doing it, and it's very legitimate and it's hilarious all at the same time. That's what makes the movie great. Anyway, I would like to make it more just like joke response to joke is violence, and then the outcome is, oh, we're friends in the end because of the violence. Like some ridiculous
the violence
shit.
Is what brings you together.
Yeah, it's like it, and like I was writing
common ground.
Well, like I was writing out different scripts for different things, right? And I came to a realization. I was like, I miss old cinema that had a message to it, because now it just feels like the message is always, the world is ending, technology is taking over, we beat our kids too much, we're too ingrained in our phones, which is technology is taking over, blah, blah, blah. I miss the stuff that was just like, the most important thing in life is friendship, and friends are the things that will always have your back, or, you know, stuff like that, or like, family is forever, or,
so you want to have,
a lesson,
some kind of a lesson with it.
But it's ridiculous. The lesson is ridiculous. Like family is forever. It's like this overly obsessive Christian family, and they can't leave this kid alone during his first dating process, right?
Yeah.
And they're just like helicopter parents, ridiculous shit like that, brought modern. Like, I don't know.
I look forward to seeing what you can do with that. I mean,
I got a lot of work ahead of me, and it's just talk right now.
Well, we all do that.
It is like I'm feeling the phase of work.
It's got to start somewhere.
Exactly.
It starts with an idea, and then, you know, hopefully you put it into application and into a finished product at some point.
I'd say writing it down, period, at least has gotten me a step forward from where I have been lately, which is just, I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to drink until I don't feel anything, and then I'm going to go to bed at 2 a.m.
And then I'm going to get up and do it all over.
And then I'm going to do it all over again. Yep. So I'm trying not to do that.
Though, like in your actual like stand-up act, though? Like, because you're already pretty physical.
I mean, I haven't, like, I would love to bring like a specific joke out that has to do with stunt work or like martial arts or beating a dude up or something.
Yeah.
Like I like actually act out the physicality of it, and to a ridiculous manner, right?
Yep.
But I can't think of a solid. I haven't written out a solid reason for it yet.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, I would absolutely.
I mean, you don't want to just do it to do it. You have to have something that, you know, kind of brings it out naturally. I guess that's a good point.
Like I love to say racial slurs towards Asians in my bits generally. But generally, and like for context, it's because it's what's been said to me. So I like to portray the people who say that stuff to me in a ridiculous light. So that's like that's what I'm trying to find with the martial arts stuff, is like, how can I round it out to where this isn't just ridiculous of me doing this, you know?
Yeah, no, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. You know, you like you said, you got to bring it out so it's somewhat natural and not just, you know, forced. Because anytime you force any kind of joke or anything, it's, you know, you might get a response from it, or you might get a laugh, but it's not necessarily going to be a genuine laugh. And ultimately, that's what we want, is genuine laughs.
Right. Yeah, that's an interesting question that I haven't really put 110% thought into, but like definitely it's on the back burner, like something martial arty. Like I got to bring more.
So you can combine martial arts, comedy and singing,
music,
and you would be like a triple threat.
Just like the most insane person in the comedy scene.
They'll be like, what is this?
It's like somebody's dad really didn't love him. He's got a lot going on.
He's doing everything he can for attention. He's doing kung fu. He's singing the blues, and he's telling jokes.
And he's like not half bad at all of them. So his dad really, that's indicative. You guys remember Michael Jackson? That's indicative of like, you know, the dad being a little.
Oh my God. That actually would be pretty entertaining to see, to do where you could do, you know, singing, but like funny songs, and use your martial arts training for like dancing.
You know,
like, you know what I mean?
I'd
like
kill.
you could choreograph it. It would be choreographed. I can't even say the word right now, but
I'd kill in Bollywood. Because he could still be a triple threat there. I'm actually like a quadruple threat. Oh, he does the stunt fighting and the dancing, and he can sing. Oh, and he can.
And suddenly, Chase leaves America.
I gotta go to India, guys.
He's gotta go start.
Forget
fresh.
the caste system. I'm one of the lightest shades. I'll be fine there. That was one of the big things my mom always said to me.
It's funny, we joke about this, but you're not wrong. Like, in certain markets, you would kill like that. That's, you know, over the top, you know, performance like that. I mean, I think you would, even in America, you would probably do, if you did something like that on stage where you had like, you know, some kind of choreographed dance, but it's really martial arts while you're singing something funny. I don't know.
There was me and my buddy Cameron Setsuji Carter, which you guys should check him out too. Great stunt fighter out in Arvada, Colorado. He and I were coming up with an idea for a music video that's a whole fight scene that's very John Wick-esque style. But the whole time that the guy's going through the fights, he's singing. He's lip syncing to a music video. And it's like an intense fight scene. Like he's breaking limbs and there's blood everywhere. But like it's about finding his lost cat.
Or something like
or
that.
Something
something
ridiculous. You just you know.
I think there's something there. That's a funny concept. Anytime you can combine things like that. I don't know. It's funny you talk about the John Wick is. I just started watching the Continental. It's a series on Peacock, which is
I've heard of it.
in the John Wick universe. It's pretty. First episode was pretty good.
Word.
It was pretty good.
I refuse to buy any more streaming services. I have no job right now, and
that's fair.
Yeah, it's survival of the absolutely minimal right now.
Hey, that sometimes that's what you got to do. Got to do to survive.
Yeah. I am trying to find a job at Petco right now.
Oh, nice.
Trying to become their aquatic specialists and work with their fish.
Did you already apply?
I interviewed and everything. I'm just waiting to hear back.
Nice. Well, good luck. I hope they call you back.
Yeah, they'd be stupid not to.
They would, really. As much as you know about fish
stuff.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. I go into some of, not necessarily Petco, but like it was a long time ago, but I went into a Walmart when they still had like fish, and oh my God, talk about awful.
Horrifying. Yeah.
Oh, horrifying. Yeah. Say the least. It was like dead fish floating in the tanks, and I'm just like, ugh. Not
See,
good.
like dead fish floating in the tank for me doesn't generally bother me. It's not indicative of a problem unless you go in every day. The fish are always dead.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean.
Floating at the top.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
it's not. Yeah, like a fish dying is one thing, but this is like a constant. That's what makes it a problem. Well, hopefully that works out for you.
Or Walmart. Anyway, yeah, hopefully it does.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get back to comedy.
That's comedy.
Is it?
Yeah. Thousands of fish dying at the hands of Walmart. That's hilarious.
Oh
God.
Put in that rim shot there, right?
We're gonna cut this out too.
And no, we're not. I don't do much cutting or editing. So obviously you haven't listened to an episode of this podcast.
That's
know that.
That's partially fair. I did. sit through the whole live one with you.
You did.
And that was
you
a
were,
good time.
yeah, the
That
one
was
in
a good time.
Trinidad.
Yeah.
You were there. Yes.
Cool little town and cool little festival.
That was a lot of fun. That fest was great. I had a good time. I wish I would have been able to stay longer.
Yeah, me too.
I was bummed about that.
I would have honestly lived there. There was a little part of me that was like, wow, this
I'm
place
just gonna
is
stay here.
kind of calm.
Just gonna stay here.
Was
and
that
hang out.
birds tweeting? I can hear the wind rushing through the mountains.
Yeah, it was a very quaint town.
Yeah.
I liked it. I definitely want to go back and visit the town and
Same.
go do some of the, go check out some of the sites down there.
Yeah, just like take some of the trails and stuff.
Yep.
Go down through the parks.
Yep. Check out some of the other shops and stuff.
Yep.
Check it out. Do a little more exploring.
Their mutiny was very good.
That
the
it
Mutiny
was.
Cafe was very
Yes.
pretty.
Yes. I was a little disappointed because their comics were very unorganized, and that's
Yeah,
big
you were
pet.
there for a while.
I
just
was,
kinda-
but that's because they were unorganized. It takes a while to go through them.
See, I figured you
And-
were sitting there organizing them.
No, I'm not doing that for anybody. I only do that if I had my own store.
I can't let this pass.
But it is one of my biggest pet peeves when I
No,
go
for
into
sure.
a comic book shop and it's unorganized. Oh. It was funny because I went out to North Carolina a couple weeks ago and I was hanging out with my friend Will, who's another comic book nerd, comedian, a friend of mine, and he was taking me out to all these comic book shops, and I kept commenting on ones that were so unorganized, and he he was like, "Man, I'm gonna have to take you to this one because this one's pretty organized." It's like, I can't let you leave with this bad taste in your mouth. We got to go to a shop that's organized.
Jesus.
Because I kept mentioning it, and I was like, "Hey, it's not on you, dude." I'm surprised that as business owners don't want to take better care of their products. Is all. But
Yeah.
I mean, that's the part where I'm just like, if this was I couldn't do it. It's chaos. So that's just a little something about me, my little rants.
I would have a difficult time owning a business. I know for a fact. Like, I'm so disorganized just with the little bit of stuff that I'm trying to control. Now terrified of growth, actually, a little bit. What
Aren't
if
we?
it gets bigger?
I mean, we all are, right? Well, I mean, that is
I have to
scary, but
manage things.
that's but also
Actually
one
have
of
to
the
pay
things you
attention
want.
to things where they're going and stuff. Oh
Right?
God.
Oh no.
Like you said, I'm terrible at the scheduling. I texted you today and I was like, I'll see you at 3.
Actually,
right
you
above
didn't even
was 2.
you didn't even say 3. You said I'll see you at, and it was blank.
Oh, it's supposed
And
to
then
say
you
3.
said, and then you said, I mean 2. So yeah, you just rest your case. You definitely proved the point.
The funniest thing to me was like the text that says I'll see you at 2 from the previous day was like right above that.
Right above it, yeah. I'll see you at 2, and you're like, okay, I'll be there at 3.
Yep.
But you didn't
Apparently
even
I
put that in.
didn't even.
Yeah, I will have to say, as somebody
Awesome.
who has did some comedy stuff with you, you are horrible about scheduling.
Yeah, I know.
It's wild that you're. Sometimes I just don't get it because
I've gotten better at it. If it makes me feel any better.
I hope so.
I write like the first thing. Like, it doesn't matter how fucked up I am, how tired I am. If somebody messages me or tells me that they want me to do a show, the first thing I do is go open my calendar
and look
I
to see if you're
write it
available?
down. No, I write it down.
Okay.
Or you'll be like, I'm too new to see if I'm available. I'm always available. Dan, I'm always available. Please book me
right.
for a show. I am always available.
I
No,
will have to say, it was funny when we were trying to coordinate going to Trinidad. I was just like, oh my God. I'm like, where are you going to sleep? I don't know, a car? Like,
Yeah.
what?
That was the plan. I was just like, I'll just,
I don't know what I'm doing.
sleep in the car,
It's like, when's your
man.
show? I don't know.
Nobody's told me nothing. I'm just kind
It's like, have you checked your email? No? Why would I do that?
much better at checking the email now. I check
That's
it
good.
mostly because of the no job. But
I have time.
yeah,
I'm
well, no,
hoping
it's just
now.
like I'm looking for new job prospects in my email.
Oh, okay.
I get
gotcha.
emails from Indeed, and like they
Yeah.
send me the most updated. Anyway, but like, yeah, no, I'm better at checking the email. Besides that, I'm just trying to add some order back into my life.
That's
like,
good. We all
go
need
to
a little
therapy and stuff. Like,
Do
so
the things.
yeah, man. I've got a schedule going. So
Yeah, good. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good that you're getting back on track. Speaking of getting back on track, you you talked about your bombing last night, and kind of your crowd work is what really derailed you. Now, what do you like when you have a bad set? What are you doing to analyze and try to figure out, how do you figure out what happened and to prevent it from happening again? So like in this case, it was your crowd work. It came off maybe too aggressive or whatever, or just the way, or condescending, or however you want to, whatever word you want to put in there.
Yeah.
How do you prevent that from happening again?
The answer for me is always write more. Write more. Write more jokes so that you're not having to scramble and fill space with your brain. Because your brain apparently is generally pretty fucking pissed off that this shit's happening when you're up there. And it's not even like how I mean to feel. It's just like when it happens like that, like, and crowd work starts coming my way, it doesn't feel as organic as it did in the beginning. And like, I wasn't aggressive. Like, I can go back and listen to myself in the very beginning. I wasn't aggressive at people.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know what changed, but until something changes again, no more. Like, just keep writing. And I think that's a good,
I think that's a good general rule. Period.
Just keep writing. And the other thing is, I record every set. I record every single set. I go, when I'm alone, I will, generally on my ride home, I'll put my phone into my Bluetooth, and I will listen to that set on the way home over and over and over and over. Either because I really liked how it went, or because I am obsessed with how terrible I am and how much better I need to be. But I think recording every set is insanely beneficial to growing as a comic, because I don't think I would have learned half of the things I would have learned about myself as I'm doing them if I hadn't recorded them. And like, I love when I get a tape back, because then I get both things, how I look when I'm doing the thing and how I sound. So
yeah. No, that's definitely something we all should be doing. I every time somebody talks about that, I'm like, I record everything, but I never watch it, and I need to get better about that part. That's the part where I'm like, oh, gotta sit down, gotta watch these videos, gotta,
There's something about going back through the old stuff, and like, I'll tell like older comics this, like, I haven't talked to you about this, but like, I love, like, appreciate going back through the old stuff, because not only is there like material there to use that like I haven't used in forever, but it also just kind of reminds me how far I've come. Like, and that's especially nice for my brain to go, man, can you believe just 2 years ago that's what you sounded like, and you put in that much work, and now you sound like this.
Yeah, no, and that's a good way to look at it.
Yeah,
that's something I try to do. Every year on my anniversary, I watch my first open mic, because I have it on tape.
Nice.
And it's a good barometer to be like,
first one.
Oh, this is where I started. I was horrible. Here's where I'm at now. I'm so much better as a performer, writer, all the things. So it's a good, it's good to see that progression. Because, if you don't have, like with comedy, it's good to like set goals and have little goals or whatever. But, if you're not like reaching milestones, it's easy to get frustrated.
Yeah.
And think, oh, well, what am I doing? I'm just, stuck spinning my wheels. So when you have something to compare to, so you can see progression, even if you're not necessarily hitting certain milestones, but you can at least see that, oh, I am getting better at this. The more time I put into it, the better I'm getting.
And the thing that I keep needing to remind myself of is anything can be a milestone.
Oh,
whatever
absolutely.
you set can be it's not what anybody else says.
No.
It's not a competition. It's not a show that everybody else gets on. It's whatever you make it, man.
Yeah.
Like that's I have a hard time remembering that accolades are not necessarily publicly known. They don't have to be publicly known. I'm still working through the self love of that portion of it, like making sure that I am saying to myself after a set, hey man, did you do your best, and if I didn't, then hey, next time let's make sure to pick it up and actually do the thing we're here to do, which is make people laugh.
Absolutely. And I think that's a good perspective to have, and a good reminder, because we often forget, it's easy to be hard on ourselves and go right into the negative aspects, but we do have to remember those, that we're supposed to be having fun.
Yeah.
That's part of it. We're supposed to have fun. The crowd's supposed to have fun. And that you're right. Accolades and some of the things we achieve aren't necessarily always going to be, out in public. And they don't need to be,
No, it's, if you did it, like that's
all that should
that's
matter.
the thing. Yeah, like that. And like learning to be okay with that has also been difficult for me. Like, and I'm learning that very slowly, but like it is literally just telling myself every day, like, you did it. This is what you wanted to do. You are living in step with the things that you set, the goals that you set. Keep going. Don't stop. And like I was just telling another new comic this actually, going back to the martial arts thing, like taking a martial arts mindset, like in the beginning, the danger of it was punching a thing, right? Like learning a motion with your hand, like with your body, is a very rudimentary thing, and it is spiritual for sure, but like it's so much more 1-2, like 1 + 1 = 2 than a joke. A joke to me is like magic. Like anything that we do when we're talking is just like spell casting, man. Like, and a joke is especially powerful because like it can have an effect upon a mass, populace. So like me going into comedy with the martial arts mindset of I'm going to hammer out this goal and this skill as often and as hard as I can, turned into really bad joke telling and really bad mentality on stage because I became overly aggressive, which I'm still working through. And I think that I going too hard into the martial arts mindset like that and forgetting that this is supposed to be fun and super lighthearted and that it's a performative art, that you lose the magic. Like, and
oh yeah, absolutely.
Sorry, it was a bit of a ramble, but like,
no, you're absolutely right. Like I said, it's easy to lose that magic.
You can't hammer it into place. It has to be a by the moment thing. So you absolutely go to every mic that you can, but like, going in with the mentality of I'm going to be the best every single time is a little dangerous in my opinion. Like I'm going to hammer the crap out of this is a little dangerous.
Think people, especially for comics, if you're a new comic listening to this particular podcast and this episode, yes, go hit as many open mics as you can. But I think when you need to really evaluate how you're using those open mics, like you said, it's not about just hammering it in over and over again.
What's
it's
happening
also
in
to
those
set
moments.
goals too.
Yeah.
Like that's for me. I don't go to as many open mics as I used to, and I don't have to. I do a lot of longer sets, so it's not as necessary. But when I do, I try to set goals. So like to me, like even on this podcast, when I kind of do the pre-screening of guests, I mention, I'm like, hey, I would prefer your bombing story not to be from an open mic, because me personally, I no longer feel that bombing at an open mic is a bomb. That's because to me that's
a lesson.
It's a lesson.
Yeah.
Well, it's a lesson, but you should, you're supposed to go to an open mic to bomb. Like that's the whole point, is you're working on new material.
Don't know if it's going to work.
You might be at an open mic you've never been to before. You're not familiar with, the format of the open mic or, the venue or the staff, or there's all kinds of little factors that can come into play in that. And so the main objective of going to an open mic is to spit out those words, which are your jokes. So to me, if you're doing that at the very minimum, you're succeeding in that. And that's not really a bomb. Yeah. And a lot of comics, even myself included, I would go to an open mic, do crappy, and then beat myself up. It's like, I bombed and be all sad about it. And then it's like, well, as the longer I've been in comedy, I've realized, oh no, that's part of the process.
Yeah.
So now if I go to an open mic, or when I go to open mics, I set goals. Yeah. Like I have whatever, it's either I'm working on a new joke, or I'm trying it in a different order, or I'm trying something different with the joke. I might have a different presentation, or it might have a different punchline. I might have a different setup. I might have a tag that I'm just trying on a joke, all kinds of different things. But I always have some sort of a little goal for that open mic. Yeah. And as long as I achieve that goal, whether it pays off or not, as long as I achieve that goal, then I did what I needed to do.
Yeah.
You know, because that's what it is. It's for us to get better.
110. I'd say lately, I feel like I've been burning mics. I've just been going because it's what I do.
Yeah.
I don't know if I need to take a break necessarily because like I love going and I love being there and doing my jokes and hanging out with the peeps and doing the thing. So like I don't want to stop, but at the same time, I do need to keep going with more of a growth mindset instead of just like I'm gonna do these jokes and get out of here. But like at the same time, it's this hard dichotomy because I don't do the same joke the same 2 times. I'll change it.
I would say this: if your mentality is I'm just gonna go do my jokes and get out of here, to me that doesn't sound like somebody that enjoys going and being around comics and being around that thing. You kind of contradicted yourself.
Well, it's not like I'm going to do my jokes and get out of here. It's more, I'm going to do the jokes that I have that I stay safe and I don't have to stretch too hard.
Okay, because the way it sounded, I was like, well, that doesn't. That sounds like someone that's not having a good time.
I go to go hang out with Joe and all my I
wanted to clarify because it sounded.
And there was a time, I'll be honest, that like I was going and it was not fun, and I was just going because. Well,
that's when you know. That's when you know that you have to take a break. When you're not having fun, and there's nothing wrong with taking breaks, even if it's if you still feel like you need to go out, instead of going out 3 nights a week. Go out 1 night a week for a couple weeks, that kind of thing,
as opposed to just grinding all the time and. No, there's value in a break. For sure.
Absolutely. Now, when you're on stage and a joke doesn't land or you feel like you're losing the audience, you're bombing, what in that moment goes through your mind? And what do you try to do to deviate and bring them back?
So the thing that goes through my mind is a word I can't say. But and then I definitely haven't. I've been checking myself.
Okay.
I'll say that word. I'll drop it in my head. And then I'll go deviate, do another joke, just keep going. And then I'll try and do it in the best moments.
Yep.
That's what I'll do. In the bad moments, I say that word and then I go, well, what's wrong, guys? In some form. Yeah. And that's where we start
blame it on the audience.
Yeah. Well, not like it feels like what I'm trying to do is be like, where are we going with this?
Yeah.
Where you guys didn't like that. I'm sorry. Like, let's. What do you want to talk about you want to talk about getting my my I won't say it. There's no iterations.
All right. I appreciate you going the distance trying to keep it clean.
I've been really struggling and you could triple check me. I'm pretty sure I haven't said anything that I'm not supposed to say.
You did say one thing already.
No.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you said I don't remember where it was, but you dropped an F-bomb. Yeah, I got it.
Sorry, guys.
It's all good.
I'm sorry, guys.
I mean, Dan, like I said, this podcast is not. It's not a clean podcast. Like I don't care about profanity. I just try to keep it clean. If it comes out, it comes out. I'm not gonna.
Slap my mama and call her Betty.
I'm just trying to reach that bigger audience so people can listen to it.
No, I feel you.
At work. But at the same time, I don't really care either. So. I mean, I said the same thing on the last episode with my guest, Jeff Gundy, and then proceeded to be the one that instigated essentially a fuckfest. So
Nice.
So
nice. Well, I'm not going to do that because I'm an upstanding gentleman raised by a bunch of Protestant white Christians.
All right. Well, that's good. Let's talk about your writing. All right. I think it could be no. I think it could be, but no.
Way better than it is. Well, Dan, I got to tell you something. It could be better.
Well, I mean, if we're being honest, we could all be.
We
better.
can all be better.
We can all be better. But now, seriously though, what's your writing process? Like, what's the evolution of a joke for you?
I have 2 different writing processes that I generally try to implement, which is a word tree, which is just random words generated from my brain that are associated with each other. 2 of them generally go like, or no, 2 words that aren't associated with each other. So like on one side, I'll create a T list. One side I got like set. and on the other side I have cockroach.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll write all of the words I can think of that are associated with each individual word, and then I'll try to find where they intersect in those two lists. And then I'll try to write something out of that. And like generally it's something cool does come out of that. I'm not doing any jokes currently that I've written that way. But
it's a good
I have a couple
writing prompt, though.
Yeah. I have a couple in the back pocket that I've done that way. The other way that I do is like just a heinous, crazy idea that comes into my brain. I'll write down and then try to blossom off of that. Like a friend posted on Facebook, oh, this friend said that this friend looks like an alley peer. One who pees in the alley. And I thought that was funny. So I messaged him. It wasn't a comment. I was like, hey, I'm going to steal that for a joke. Don't. If you hear it online, don't get mad. So like, I took that and I just kind of like embellished on it, you know? So like, if there's just like a silly idea, I try to embellish on it and put the right beginning, middle, end on it. You know, grab my punch, grab my introduction, not in that order.
Yeah.
Sometimes it actually is in that order. Like that's the most frustrating part about how I write is like a lot of the times I'll have like a punch or a setup and no thing following them after that. Like I have pieces of jokes that are not.
Well, if you have
finished.
a punch and if you have a setup and a punch, you've got a joke.
Different setup, different punch.
Oh, okay.
So like,
so not that. So you'll
punch
say
punch A
gotcha.
to a setup is not
gotcha.
punch
So,
B to anyway.
I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're saying that the A B. So you're
Yeah.
doing punch. You're doing the setup for joke A, but doing the punch for joke B.
Yeah,
Essentially.
and it'll just be like as I'm writing different ideas down. My favorite thing to do is like some of the best stuff that I'll come up with is right before I go to sleep. Sometimes something will just flash through my brain, and I'll write down the prompt for it. And then the next day I'll come back to it, and I will not have remembered what I said. And then I'm like, oh man, that's good. I wrote that down. Let's embellish on that. And
I don't do notes very often. Sometimes I will though. I'll like get ideas and put them in my phone.
Yeah.
And then totally forget about them. And it's funny because then I'll go through my notes and just randomly I'm like, what the
What was I thinking?
What?
Like let's actually take a little look. See.
Oh, I don't think I
got
have
here.
notes in mine though now because I got a new phone and I don't think they transferred. But you see what you got in your phone. I'll see what I got in mine. I don't know. Like I said, I don't think I got any notes.
Sad nature documentary. Just that's the prompt.
What is it?
Sad nature documentary. And then underneath that is weird shit happens on shrooms.
Yeah.
Which is, I know the prompt for that, which is like, I'm trying to say like, every time I've done shrooms, right? It's not just me that weird shit's happening to. It's not in my head. Like something weird always happens when you're on shrooms in the world surrounding you for no reason.
I do not have any notes in this phone. They did not transfer when I transferred my data from my other phone.
I can see your belly hair through your shirt. That was one.
I thought you were literally saying that to me, and I was like, I would not be surprised because
No, I wrote that down.
That's
It
fun.
is there.
No, I believe
It
that.
is there.
But what's funny, the reason I thought maybe it was you were saying it to me is because I have had that happen. I've had my chest hair poke through a t-shirt, and I'm like, why? I got a hair on me, and I'll go and pull it, and then I like pull it out, and I'm like, ow, yeah. Through my shirt. It's wild. Not even a button-up shirt, like through a regular t-shirt.
Just wormed its way.
Just
through
wormed
there.
its way through. Yeah, like a nail, just poked through. Like, little pin poked through the shirt, and I'm like,
Thank
oh,
God.
a
I
hair.
got like 6 hairs right here, my dude. That's it.
Oh man,
Yeah.
I wish I only had 6 hairs.
Yeah, I'm like hairless. Like I got nothing.
Good for you.
Yeah.
I'm the only place I'm hairless is right up top.
Like a Ken doll, just smooth, dude.
Oh well, right now we're getting a little too much. No.
Why is that? I was being referential to the comment. Now you can add that to the algorithm.
All right.
Barbie movie,
Barbie
2023.
2023.
just pushing the.
Just push it.
What is it?
We'll
The SEO or
SEO.
SEO friendly.
Yep. Make it SEO.
Yeah.
People search Barbie, and then this podcast comes up, and then they're like, "That was."
Why are
so
these two old fat Chinese people talking about the Barbie movie?
And be like, oh, more guys giving their hot takes on Barbie.
I'm actually Volcel now. That's voluntarily celibate because of this Barbie movie. Okay. Incels are the past.
Yeah, sure. Voluntarily. Anyway, we're going to keep this going. We are going to be wrapping up, though. This has been great. I'd like to go out more positive, though. Yeah. So you talked about your bombing story. Tell me a story of a time, one of your favorite shows. Doesn't have to be like anything, it didn't have to be like the best show you've ever done. Just one of your favorite shows you've done.
It was by no means my best performance because it is recorded from several angles by Dude IDK, and it is beautiful. It's like it's a dream come true watching it because it's 7 minutes of me and it looks like a Netflix special. It's gorgeous.
7 minutes of you.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. It's gorgeous, and I will like 7 minutes of my comedy.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And I know,
I'm being
right,
a dick.
right. I'm sure I've already made myself look that way, Dan. I don't need help. Okay,
I'm sorry.
But like it's Besides that, it was opening for Josh Johnson, man.
Oh,
so like
yes.
that was like my brain was just on fire that night. Like it was. I was so excited to be there, and like you were there. That's right.
I was there. Yeah.
And and for that specific performance, actually, you were sitting right next to Nick, weren't you?
I was. Yeah. I was sitting right next to the camera.
Yeah, you were.
True story.
Yeah. That was my favorite performance of all time so far.
Yeah. Well, that's great because like you said, you said that you were a big fan of Josh's too, so you got to do that guest spot.
Yeah, I was watching him from like before I started comedy, and like 4 years now down the road, I can't believe I've done a show with him.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Absolutely insane.
Yeah, I was supposed to do a whole weekend with him, and ended up only doing one night with him, and it was because my car broke down. Oh no! And so I didn't make the first day of shows because I had to drive from Minneapolis to Lincoln, Nebraska. Got stuff figured out with a car, borrowed a car from somebody, and then drove down. Then that later that day, like I left that same day later that night and started driving, so I would be there the next day. But yeah,
no car.
I lost money on that show.
Buddy.
Those
are always the worst.
But it was great because I met Josh, and I didn't know who he was at the time. Like I had no idea who he was, and that happens with comedy. I feel like there's so many comedians, and they'll like blow up, but you don't necessarily hear about them.
Right.
And that was kind of the case with him. He had already been, I think he was already on The Tonight Show, and he was already writing for The Daily Show and doing all that kind of stuff. And, so he was already headlining clubs. Again, didn't know who he was, but so funny watching him perform. Both shows, just hilarious. And he was one of the sweetest comics that I met on the road.
Absolutely.
Like, he was just an absolute sweetheart.
The thing I appreciated about him is like, and I've met several comics now that are like, headliners, and like they tour nationally and, internationally.
Yeah.
And they won't give you the time of day sometimes. And Josh took the time, like a lot of people will sell merch. Josh gives his time. That's his merch. Like,
absolutely.
He'll have a conversation with you.
Yeah.
He'll listen to whatever story you have about the first time you saw him or whatever. Like I wanted to talk to him so badly, but at the same time I felt bad because like he was giving all of the fans time. Like that was a beautiful thing to me.
Was.
Like
absolutely.
to see. Like so much respect to Josh. Like amazing comic and way to treat your fans the right way, man. Like that is very important. Super important. Because they make this whole thing, dude.
They absolutely do.
Where would we be without them?
Their fans are what stands between you and what you might think is your success in a lot of ways. So
110.
without them, you're probably not going very far.
I agree entirely.
Now, the last question is very important. We have the art of bombing. Get pumped. It doesn't have to be a song that gets you pumped for comedy, but just a song that gets you pumped. Maybe it's to get you pumped to do some martial arts while you're singing.
I got a couple for you. For comedy, for sure. Leedle Leedle by Trippy the Kid.
Triple the Kid.
Trippy the Kid.
Trippy the Kid? Trippy the Kid.
Yeah.
And the song is?
The sound that Patrick makes.
The sound?
Leedle Leedle Like that's the song title.
The sound that Patrick makes.
That's what you're writing down. Okay.
Oh, that's not the title of the
It's
song?
called Leedle Leedle Lee.
Oh, Leedle Leedle. Oh, well.
I'm saying it's the sound that Patrick makes. Leedle Leedle Lee.
Leedle.
From SpongeBob. Man,
Yeah,
are you too...
Leedle.
Okay.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
We don't need to play it. All right. There we go. Trippy the Kid. Leedle Leedle Lee. Got it. All right. This has been great. Final thing. Where can people find you?
People can find me at leesheho.com or at leesheho. That's my Instagram handle. LEE she a ho, spelled like she a ho. SHEOHOE. Yeah. And you can find me on TikTok at Chase Tressler Comedy. That's just Chase Tressler Comedy.
How come you don't change your Instagram to that then? Oh, just deer in the headlights look right now.
Why? What?
I don't know.
What's wrong with you don't like
No, just because then it's easier for people to find. That's all. Convenience is the only reason.
There was another comic who does that around here. Anthony Crawford. It's just Anthony Crawford on Instagram, Anthony Crawford on YouTube. That's brilliant. I'm trying to do that, but like Instagram doesn't let you change your handle after a certain amount of time.
Yeah,
and I'm still in the I just changed it to Lee Shi Ho a few months ago, or like however long it was, and it feels like I can't like change it. It feels like it's been weeks.
I was just
know what?
I didn't mean to put you on the spot like that.
Yeah,
I'm sorry,
leave my name alone. It's been that forever.
I was just asking. It's okay.
Way to make everything uncomfortable.
That's what I do. I'm pretty good at that.
I thought
you can
wanted to end on
also
a positive.
find all his stuff in the show notes. It will also have some of the links to his socials down there. So if you couldn't spell along,
you said this was a safe space.
It is a safe space.
You're judging me.
All right, this has been great. Thanks for doing the podcast.
Thanks for having me, buddy.
This has been a Dan Bublitz comedy production. Raw.